In this next video of our subdivision design, we are going to take this to the next step and we're going to start grading out the lots. So we're going to ensure that there's proper slope and drainage on the lots. We're going to ensure that water flows off. We're going to make sure everything ties together, whether we need swales in the back or what not, but we are going to work on the lot grading itself. Now there's two ways of doing this. There is the way that is already here. We could use the parcel lines to grade the lots. By default they are feature lines, and I can do elevation editor on them. They function like feature lines. The only difference that is not in the right click menu is add to surface as a break line. However, it could be in the ribbon. I don't like doing this way just because there are so many issues with feature lines themselves, or sorry, parcel lines themselves, that it can cause bugginess, it can cause a little bit of crashing. So I like to remake the feature lines, obviously on a different site. So we can make a new site. I'll make a new site and I'll name this lot grading feature lines, and I'll hit OK. The downside to this method is you have to retrace all the feature lines in your drawing with a simple polyline. Although it's not a super huge deal, it can become quite time consuming if you have a lot of lots. So I'm going to go ahead and trace all my feature lines, and I will be right back. Alright, all my lots have been traced with a simple polyline. I've gone around the backs as well, the backs of all the lots. It makes this one easier because these two share a slope, so we'll have to work together to make these lots work. And I'm going to guess some of these will be maybe a split lot configuration, some of these will be back to front, etc. But I've traced every single lot line. Now we want to pull information directly from our corridor surface, so on all of our assemblies I basically add another tiny little section piece that is just a basic lane. So under the tool palettes, and this allows us to pull information from our corridor at all locations. So I'm just going to add a basic lane. Yeah, just a basic lane. And I'm going to attach it to the outside of every single piece. I am going to go into the properties of the lane, and I'm going to tell it to be a 0% slope, and I want it 0.05 long and a depth of 0. We don't need any depth to this, and we want it to look clean and not show anything. Okay, we have to have 0.001 probably. We have to have a millimeter thickness. Yeah, and that'll work. So this will basically extend our corridor on both sides so that they overlap with the feature lines, and we can pull automatic information from the feature lines themselves. Just a tiny little step that's going to help us immensely. So I'm going to copy this through all my assemblies here, and I'm going to copy it to where it needs to. And I know we didn't use all these assemblies, however, copy it to all the pieces just to make sure you have them all and you don't inadvertently miss one or two. Now this shouldn't affect the corridor itself. The corridor should still build and shouldn't be a problem. We're just adding an outside, a dumb little basic lane piece just to extend something. I'm going to finish the last couple here, and then I will rebuild my corridor. And then I'll zoom in on it so we can see what is actually happening. Copy that to this one, and that is the last one. So going over to my corridor, I'm going to zoom in on the edge. And again, this is not that large, it's only 0.05. But when I rebuild this, we should see an additional red line pop out, maybe around where my mouse is here. And give that a second to rebuild. And there it has there. So now, if we look at where a feature line is connected, we can guarantee that the feature line is covering the actual surface, and if we update something, it will rebuild. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to select all these polylines, and ensure I just have the ones for the lots. 29 polylines, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, I think we've got them all, and I don't think we have any additional ones. I'm going to go up to grading. I'm going to create feature lines from objects. They are on the lot grading feature line site. I'm going to make them maybe magenta so we can tell the difference between them. Magenta, black. Use the current layer, so I want it to go to this layer, erase existing entities, and I want to assign elevations. I want to assign elevations for my main residential road design. And I want to click this button to make it relative elevation to a surface. However, before I do this, I need to clean up some triangles here. I hit escape and it looks like it made them feature lines anyways. So I'm going to explode all these because I wasn't ready to make them feature lines yet. Actually, maybe I can leave them. Elevation editor. Yeah, I didn't pick it up, so I'm going to explode them all. Just select them, explode, they'll turn back into 3D polylines. So the first thing I'm going to do before I actually make those is turn on triangles, edit surface style, turn on my triangles. I don't want it to pick up relative elevations in the back. And then I'm going to delete lines. And I'm just going to go straight through the middle, delete the majority of these extra triangle lines. I really wish surface boundary worked, but because the way we built our corridor, it's not going to work the way we want it to. So I've deleted the lines in the middle. I'm going to turn these triangles back off, and then I will go and make my feature lines again. So I'll do a select similar, grading, create feature lines from objects, lock grading feature lines, again make them magenta, erase existing entities, assign elevations. We want these from our main residential road design, and we want them relative to the surface by 0. So if our corridor moves up and down vertically, these feature lines should pick this relative elevation from this surface and adjust with it. So I'm going to hit OK and give Civil 3D a minute here to update. And we see we now have all our feature lines. And I don't think I wanted to do, oh, that was a leftover polyline from in behind, so I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to delete this one as well. So I'm going to go into my elevation editor, and if we scroll all the way to the right, we'll see a couple things. This, I believe, is a new feature from either 2018 or 2019. Elevation derived from. So at the station 0, which is at the front of our feature line, we have an elevation of 1132.431. I know that's a little hard to see. That is pulling from the surface at this location. And if I change my surface, it should update. However, I'm going to start changing my grading. And I'm going to start on this side. I want to grade ahead. Again, grade ahead, grade back. Pay attention to which column you're working in. I want to grade ahead. I want my lot to slope at 2% up. I'm going to go to the next feature line and do the same. Grade ahead at 2%. I'm going to go through all these feature lines along the right hand side and go 2%. Actually, I probably will do them, do every single feature line in the drawing at 2%, and then we will come back on how to fix them and clean them up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be right back. Okay, I've gone and added the 2% to all my feature lines. I am going to close that dialog box down. I'm going to freeze off my corridor. I'm going to freeze off my corridor surface. I'm going to freeze off my intersection just to clean the drawing up. Give yourself a better idea of what you're looking at when you're working. C align is current, so I'll just switch the layer quickly. Freeze off C align. We don't need to see all that. I'm going to make a new surface, and I'm going to call this lot grading surface. I'm going to leave it on the 0.5 and 0.1. I believe that's what this one was set to. 0.5 and 0.1, yes. And I'm going to expand lot grading surface. I'm going to expand definition. I'm going to paste in my corridor feature line, or my corridor surface. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these feature lines. I'm going to right click, I'm going to add them to a surface as a break line, my lot grading surface. So we will see it update over here. Now, because I did go and delete triangles, it did create some holes here. So when we're done all this, I am going to go undo those. Actually, I can do that right now. Under the main road surface, definition, edits, I'm going to remove the deleting of triangles. And that's the ones on the bottom. We'll just go into surface properties, and under delete multiple lines, I'll just turn them off for now, just in case I need them again in the future. I will rebuild my lot grading surface. In fact, I will make that rebuild automatic. And then we can take a look at what we have. I'll adjust this a little bit. So all my lots, and yes, it looks messy because I've graded 2% up for these and 2% up for those. So let's go take a look at this big long feature line around the entire outside here and just see what it's doing. So from 0, it's pulling elevation from the road. Then it's grading up at 8% to get to that. Then it has to grade back down at -2 to hit that spot there. Obviously, this doesn't work. We want this to match the slope of the road if we can. So 1.27 is the road slope. So if I come in and I just try making this 1.27, that one goes to, 7.5%. So that's still 7.5% to this spot here. So there's quite a bit of back and forth on this. It's not super simple, but it's not super complicated either to try and make these slopes work. Now, I guess the low points here, 1.27 doesn't work for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this point and I'm going to drop it a little bit and just see what this is updated to. I'll make our dialog box bigger so we can watch the contours and adjust it a little bit at a time. So I need to go up actually to try and even these two out for the percentage. And just try and make the one lot on the right hand side look semi-decent. So that works for me for what is there. Alternatively, we could go pull this feature line away a bit and then snap back to it, and it should pick up the new elevation. Although it doesn't look like it's doing it. So pull that off, and then what happens if I rebuild? That still doesn't update. Okay. Oh, because this spot here is controlling it. So give me a second to diagnose how to easily fix this. Okay, so the easiest way to fix this, I think, would be under, we're going to have to go and drag all these feature lines away. We're going to freeze our parcels too. So I just want to drag this away a little bit, each and every one, to try and minimize it or make this as easy as possible to fix going forward. We'll close that for now because this is creating all kinds of high points and low points. And again, this is just one way of doing this, not necessarily the right way. So I'm going to go under grading, edit feature line geometry, and I want to delete some PIs. I want to delete that one. I want to delete that one. Anywhere the feature line from the right hand side or left hand side came in, I'm going to delete. So we now have a nice smooth grade over here. I'll pull that one away too. And in fact, let's delete that one as well. Grading, edit feature line geometry, delete. Oh, and delete that one. So these are all smooth grades over here, 2% down. I am then going to take these feature lines and I'm snapping back perpendicular to this. When I snap with a feature line, it picks up the elevation of the spot I'm snapping at, or most of the time it should. Perpendicular. So it doesn't look like that wants to do it. So if we get the elevation, 1132.012. Elevation editor, 1132.012. So 1132.012, we'll just see, and that looks like it has worked. So again, that's another way, hovering over top of it on the one side to get the elevation. And I wonder if maybe snapping nearest and zooming right in will work. No. So I'll just drag that off. I'll get the number. And 1132.152. 1132.512. Hit enter. Elevation editor. Oh, it was 152. 152. So I'm going to go along and I'm going to fix these last few ones. I'm going to try the snap method because usually that works 99% of the time. It works, but it does not seem to want to do it now for some odd reason. Okay, this is 1132.292. 1132.292. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. That one was 152. Elevation editor 1132.292. So there's about a half meter difference. And if we perpendicular snap it, then it seems to work. So I'm going to go do that and I will be right back. I'll finish this off. Alright, I've gone and made all those feature lines 2% up, or these ones are 2% up, and I've matched these elevations in. However, if we look at the elevation editor, we are now at a slope of 0.478, which is less than minimum slopes within the city of Calgary. So we need to make these lots split. So that means half the lot slopes up, half the lot slopes down, or we might adjust the high point to be near the back. Actually, let's do it in the dead center. That's easiest for this. So I'm going to use this button right here, insert an elevation point in the mid. I'll hit OK. And I'm going to grade the initial part of the feature line 3% up, which is -2 down. I'm going to go to the second feature line at a midpoint. Oh. At a midpoint. We'll do elevation editor. Oh, we're already in it. And that one's 0.9 ahead. So if we go 3 up, it's 1 down. We might have to do 3.5. 4% up. We'll do elevation editor on this one. It's 0.8. We'll do midpoint again. And we'll try 3% up. 4% up, and -2.3 down. Again, you can go anywhere up to 33% within the city of Calgary. However, those are not easy to build, and it takes a lot of dirt. And this is a relatively flat area, so 4 up and 3 down is not a major problem. So 4 up, -2 down. If we go elevation, just keep doing them as long as we need to match our slope requirements. 4% up. This one could probably be 3% up. Elevation editor on the next one. Really, it's a lot of rinse and repeat. So if we go 3%, try that, -2 down. And finally, this one here, that is 1% up. So we will do midpoint again. And we'll go 3% up. And okay, what about 4% up? 4.2. So we're 4.2 up and now -2 down. So there will have to be a back swale behind these lots, which is just a concrete trough for water, because half the lots are flowing out there and the swale will drain to the road and probably down to our low point here. The rest of the lots I've just graded up at 2%. We don't know what is around here. However, in a larger subdivision, we would have to tie this in together everywhere. I'm going to go and fix this one top left corner here, just to make sure that everything looks nice. And I set it for an elevation of 113.00. It is between these two. So I'll probably just type in 1133 point. We'll go 300 and see what it does. So it's flattened it out a bit. Again, we would have more lots tying around it. But that is just the quick and easy way of doing some lot grading on a very simple subdivision here. It's not like we're doing anything complicated. Usually if you're designing a subdivision, you're designing 200, 300, 400 different lots, multiple different roads. Everything needs to work together. Everything needs to tie in together, and it becomes a little bit of a nightmare when you're trying to do the grading. However, just for this quick example, that is lot grading. In the next video, we are going to look at laying out our underground utility system. So the storm and sanitary and high pressure water will probably be an additional video, because the storm and sanitary is going to take us a bit of time.